Kyle, turn the TikTok camera on, sadly.
Uh-oh. There it is.
It's time. Belichick needs to retire.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he does. He needs to retire. And I actually went back. I wrote this column in 2006 after that Bill Parcells season when the Cowboys lost. And Parcells, remember, he just kind of lost it. It was kind of sad. And I was like, man, remember Parcells when Parcells was an awesome coach, and now it just looks like he's taking paychecks and he's out of it and you're doing dumb stuff and it's uncharacteristic and the game management's bad. And I had this speed limit corollary where it was like after coaches turn 55, it starts to get dicey. And I went through all the history and pointed out all these different examples. Now people are coaching when they're a little bit older. Him and Pete Carroll are the oldest coaches in the league. They're both, Belichick is 69 and Carroll 70. The third oldest is Andy Reid, who's 64. And Lovie Smith, 64. But for the most part, once you get in the 60s, it's pretty unusual. But then you think back to remember Tom Landry when he got old?
How old was he when they let him go?
He was only 64.
I thought you were going to say 37.
But remember those last few years? It was like, oh man, Landry's so old. He's just lost it. He's 5 years younger than Belichick.
Right.
Shula, same thing. I was like, oh man, this is kind of sad. Don Shula, it's ending this way. He was 65. Parcells, that 2006 example I gave you, he was 62. It's like our dads are in our 70s, right? They're not throwing 100 miles an hour anymore, our dads. How old's your dad?
He's 82. But listen, this is nonsense because some guys get a break, right? That's maybe not a good example after today, but Brady shouldn't be in the league last year or the year before that. You almost have to add 10 years to Brady's longevity and Belichick's longevity. And
I added the 10 years. Now he's going to be 70 next year.
Okay, he's not going out on this note. He's going to win 2 of the next 3 and you're going to fall just short of making the playoffs, right?
I would much rather see him retire
now.
Have 4 more years. No, after the season. Then watch this for 4 more years, because the thing about this Patriots season, this is not a Patriots team. This is a team that fucks up every quarter over and over and over again. Delay a game, stupid penalties, dumb decisions, bad game management. They never would have blown a game like this 10 years ago. And at some point, I don't really blame him as much as the coaching staff he's assembled. There's no coach on that coaching staff that's getting poached. None. 0. Right. So he's getting older, and then he doesn't have that reservoir of these awesome guys who someday they're going to be Brian Flores or McDaniels or whoever. And the team is just sloppy. They're disjointed. Their offense sucks. They do dumb shit game after game. And I tweeted today, the announcer at one point, he was like, man, it's hard to get used to seeing this from the Patriots. And it's like, it's actually really easy to get used to. I've been watching it for over 3 months now. It's a really sloppy team. And that goes to the coach. If this was a normal coach, any other person, we'd be like, man, like Ron Rivera today. Washington was terribly coached today. It was like, oh yeah, of course, it's Ron Rivera. Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. I don't want to see him go out like this, Sal.
All right. But because he's the greatest coach of all time, he probably feels he should have the most wins out of any coach ever, right? So he's 20 behind Shula. And so, all right, even if he doesn't think that they can win a Super Bowl, the Patriots, I think he thinks he could scratch together 7 wins a year for the next 3 years, right? And that puts him over. I bet that means a ton to him to have the most wins.
This is the greatest coach of all time.
People will still say
how it's supposed to end.
People still say it's Shula. And by the way, I think you're right. Most guys aren't going to be coaching at 75 anymore. And so that if he gets this 348 wins, that's almost insurmountable at this point.
I just find it hard to believe, having studied this guy and watched him and followed him and read the different books and watched the documentaries about him and all this stuff. He cares so much about his place in history that I don't see him doing the thing where he just, like, first of all, this is year 3 now of depressing whatever, like Brady's last year, the Cam Newton, actually it's year 4. Brady's last year, that was awful, even though they made the playoffs. The Cam Newton year, last year they get annihilated in the playoffs, and then this year they're not even going to make the playoffs. That's 4 years now. That's a presidential term.
I'm sorry.
I don't.
What happens? This is what a lot of teams and a lot of fan bases go through. I'm sorry, Bill. You got to lose. Yeah.
And I know that. I'm just looking at him historically. Why would he want to keep doing this? He's going to go 9-8 Then next year he'll go 7-10. It's like, now I'm 14 away. Like, you're the greatest coach ever. Go out on a high note. This is not a high note.
It's going to piss you off if he gets that record with the Texans. You know you're going to be upset. Although that'll probably take like 9 years, but you know that'll upset you.
I think there's a chance this could be his last year with the Patriots because I don't think Kraft is up for this.
Interesting.
And I don't know what's going on with those guys, but Wickersham's done some awesome reporting on this that I doubted at first, and he was right.
Mm-hmm.
But the Brady piece of this and how that got screwed up, and then you watch this team. The Patricia thing is the most inexplicable thing in the history of the Belichick era. The fact that they have this guy who has no business as an offensive coordinator calling the fucking plays week after week, and he's awful every week. Everybody's worse. There's not one person who's in a better spot because Matt Patricia's the offensive coordinator. It's like if our cousin Jimmy, if he just made fucking Guillermo the head writer, and he'd be like, well, Guillermo knows everybody, and he, Jimmy's comfortable with him, and then the show goes in the fucking tank. After a while, we'd be like, man, maybe Guillermo shouldn't be the head writer.
Right. But it's not in the tank. You still can make the playoffs.
This
Guillermo
team
should host the Oscars. I think that's what you're saying. Yeah.